At last, the deal has been done. The protocol for the 38th America's Cup has been signed. The next America's Cup is now back on track and will take place in 2 years' time in Naples. But there's more to this new Cup cycle than meets the eye. In fact, you could argue that what's been agreed represents the biggest change that the Cup has seen for many years, possibly even in the history of the Cup. Back in May, we reported on the announcement of Naples as the venue for the next America's Cup. The next cycle looked like it was underway. A draft protocol was also revealed, which gave an indication of the changes that were in store. But this didn't go down too well with some of the other challengers, and the process stalled. But 3 months later, an agreement has been reached, and there are some pretty big changes in store. So first, the basics. The next Cup will be in July 2027 in Naples. 5 to 6 challengers are expected, which would include the same teams from last time, with the possibility of another Italian team. The boats will be AC-75s, but no new boats will be built this cycle, and the hulls will be the same as raced in AC-37. If a new hull is required, it has to be the same design as in AC-37. The requirement to construct in the country of challenge or defence remains. What's inside the hulls will be very different though. Cyclors will be replaced by powered systems. The total number of crew will be down from 8 to 5. And each sailing team will consist of at least one female sailor and a youth sailor. When it comes to nationalities, 2 sailors plus the female sailor must be a national of the country of the competitor. Up to 2 non-nationals will be allowed to sail on board as well. When it comes to the racing, we're back into it next year, as 3 preliminary regattas will take place in the AC-40s. Then in 2027 there are plans for another one early in the year, and then a preliminary event ahead of the Challenger Selection Series in the AC-75s. But get this, the Selection Series will include fleet racing as well as match racing, and all of it will count towards the Selection Series. And if all that sounds a bit like 2007 in Valencia, that's probably no coincidence, because another aspect from then that's come back is the guest sailor slot. But one of the big hurdles that the Cup has struggled to get over is getting sufficient agreement between defenders and challengers to provide a longer term future for the Cup. The very nature of the Cup is all or nothing. You win it, you get to make the rules. But it's become increasingly hard to raise financial backing for a campaign that has little or no certainty beyond one cycle. And that's where the really big changes are this time around. They start with the formation of the America's Cup Partnership, ACP, where all 5 previous teams and the defender, represented by Emirates Team New Zealand, will form the management group for the Cup. Pretty much everything to do with the financial and operation of the Cup will be agreed by the partnership, and that's a very big deal.
We just signed the protocol for America's Cup 38 between Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron and the Royal Yacht Squadron, and it's a pretty seismic shift for the America's Cup in that we've created a partnership that will give continuity to the event for the first time in its history, and it's been a long time coming, but it's something that we're hugely excited about.
Effectively what we've done is we've given the ownership to the running, not of the Cup, but of the ownership of the running of the America's Cup to the teams, so that no one can be disadvantaged, everybody's on the same level, and the best team will ultimately still win. One of the problems of the America's Cup is this Achilles heel that every 2 or 3 years you got to start again. And really in sport that's unprecedented. Now you can argue that's a good thing, but it's not conducive to growth of the America's Cup, the pinnacle of our sport.
In the past, teams have always struggled with the America's Cup because it's been very much stop-start. A team would win it, They then may take some time to decide where and when the next cup is, and really critically, all of those commercial deals that may have been built up, fall by the wayside, and you have to start again. And the cup has been crying out for this change for a long time, and it's an event that has huge history, huge prestige, and a massive amount of potential commercially. And by unlocking that potential now, I think it's a very exciting future for the Cup.
So by announcing today this partnership, a neutral management partnership of the teams, now you can plan long term. Now you can do 10-year TV deals, 10-year sponsorship deals. It will drive value into the teams so they can get investment. So ultimately the vision is to increase the participation, control the cost, and bring the America's Cup more regular. And people can plan. Cities can plan, sponsors can plan, teams can plan. So that's the ultimate vision of what we've announced today. Within that is the continuation of initiatives that have worked so well. The Youth and Women's America's Cup. The Women's America's Cup was a massive success. There's been calls every day for that to continue.
So we've now mandated that we'll have a female athlete, sailor on board the AC-75. And we also see the return of the Women's America's Cup and the Youth America's Cup. And for the warm-up events, the teams are allowed to enter 2 AC-40 boats, and if they have one of those boats can effectively be a mix of youth and women. So, as we saw the huge success of the Women's America's Cup in Barcelona last year in particular, this shift to more gender equity within sport, and certainly within sailing in the America's Cup, is a really brilliant step forward.
Now, you might have been expecting some or indeed all of this. It's been on the cards for a while. But there are a number of other aspects in this agreement that take the Cup into very new territory, starting with cost.
Yeah, so one of the fundamentals to this partnership is a cost cap, and we know historically the America's Cup has been very expensive in terms of participation. And so we have a cost cap of 75 million euros for this next cycle, and then looking to find ways to reduce that and to enforce that into AC39 and beyond. And one of the ways we're doing that for AC38 is reusing the hulls from AC37. It'll be a massive saving for all of the teams, but an allowance for a new team to be able to purchase a pre-existing design to get themselves to the start line. So lots of great initiatives like that, again, to bring down the cost and increase participation.
It's not entirely clear how the cap will be managed, but the fact that it's written into the protocol should provide some encouragement for those who are thinking of investing. But the least visible and perhaps most significant change to this Cup cycle and beyond strikes at the document at the very heart of the America's Cup, the deed of gift. Much of the intransience that has been attributed to the Cup's attitude towards change has been put down to the inability to alter the deed of gift. The belief was that given none of the original trustees are alive, it would be impossible to modify the intent of this document. Apparently, this is not so.
What we also signed today was a term sheet that sets the foundation for a partnership which will take over responsibility for running the event on behalf of those partners in the partnership in the future. Well, it's the biggest change in the event's history in 174 years. So traditionally it's been the role of the defender working with their representative team who takes on the responsibility of organising the event. This passes it to a partnership which we believe will support and sustain the long-term survival and growth of the sport and keep the America's Cup as the pinnacle of sailing.
And this is where change starts to come up against the deed of gift. On a call following the announcement, Ben Ainslie went into a little bit more detail about how this might happen and what role the Royal Yacht Squadron will play in this.
We have a framework now by mutual consent where we can make this happen for AC38 and into the future. But that said, we are looking at potentially amending the deed of gift to support this structure. I think, as you've seen in the press release, we've had really good conversations with New York Yacht Club, who are obviously the original settler of the trust, and they're supportive of this process as well. So I think we've got a huge amount of support within the America's Cup community and the sailing community to make this happen for the long term.
It's a pretty far-reaching change to the traditional format of the Cup. the protocol goes some way to establishing the partnership across all challengers with the defender to collectively run the Cup going forwards. It's a big change, and it's been a complex agreement to put together, but it's done, it's signed, and we're very happy that we've now got this over the line.
There will be relief on all sides that the Cup is back on track. If the rumours and gossip are true, there have been moments this year when agreement looked anything but certain. The new protocol and the details around it are a big step forward. But there will be those that feel that the America's Cup has now been compromised and that the original spirit of winner take all will be lost. Yet some will argue it was inevitable. The pressure for the Cup to change has been building for some time, not least from SailGP. As this circuit has ramped up the number of events and teams, commercial backers seem increasingly comfortable to buy into it. On the other hand, if there was one word you rarely heard in America's Cup circles, it was certainty. And today, that seems to have changed.
So as of today, the protocol's in force. What the protocol says is in 1 week today, teams can start to enter. So that'll start to roll out. There's been the call about who's entering. We're about to find out. Now that will lead into pre-regattas next year. There'll be 3 next year, then into pre-regattas in 27. But you'll start to see teams sailing again because game on. By 27, it's not that far away.